So welcome back to another review, and this is the ADIDAS SL2. So this is the one you've been recommending, this is the one you've been telling me to try, and I'm delighted to give you guys my first impressions of this shoe. Well, actually, first run. I'll explain why shortly. Just the one run in it so far, and I'll give you my instant thoughts because wow, this thing is amazing. But as always with Adidas shoes, there has to be something wrong. So we're going to dive into all of that today. We'll be going through the technical information, how I've tested the shoe, and then of course give you guys my first impressions. So without further ado, let's dive in to how I tested them. So just the one run so far, but I'll be giving you more feedback on why I've done that shortly. It was a long run, so I really took it out for a good test. 90 minutes plus some strides at the end. But the way the week went was just a little bit under the weather, didn't feel great, so I went into the weekend actually feeling quite fresh. I felt better at that point, and I gave myself license to push a bit, and that's exactly what I did. Where I run, it's a loop, a 9-mile loop, and I ended up going downhill, up a big hill, and then it's a gentle uphill back to the start. And basically, when I got to the top of the uphill, I just pushed a little bit and I held the pace and I felt really good, and the shoes absolutely responded. I'm excited to give you more feedback on that shortly, but overall it ended up doing really well over the 90 minutes plus the strides at the end. So let's go through a quick technical overview before giving you my first impression. So I went half size up, which I tend to do in Adidas, 13.5 UK. In my UK size 13.5, it comes in at 308 grams or 10.8 ounces. And we're talking about a 9mm heel to toe drop. We've got 36mm of stack height in the heel and 27 in the forefoot. And if we start our way at the back of the shoe, talk about the heel counter, ankle collar, tongue, lacing upper, midsole, and finish with the outsole. So we've got a mesh upper that runs all the way around the shoe. It's very lightweight and breathable upper. You can see through the toe box, but there are some layers to it, none more so than at the back here, where it's not rigid at all, but there does seem to be a little bit of resistance where they put a little bit more material back there to give you some stability and support. But honestly, it's not a lot. It's a lightweight shoe, which is great, so you're not going to expect to have too much back here. But what I do personally appreciate is this bumper padding put in and around the back there. It makes for a very cushioned and secure fit at the back for me anyway. That feels good, and the ankle cut is nice under the ankle bone there. The tongue is not gusseted. It is attached by the loop on the top of the tongue there, and obviously at the base of the tongue, and that works fine. It doesn't slide left to right, and that feels good. And then we've got a lacing system, which is a little bit of an odd one, sort of 3 sections to it, the bottom 2, the top 2, and then the top section there with the extra lace hole at the top. But you get a good lockdown. The only downside about this section of the shoe is the laces. They are absolutely terrible. I'm not gonna lie, they're like cheese wire. So they could do with replacing straight away. Other than that, the whole top section is good in terms of the fit at the back, but I think I could do better with some good laces. As I mentioned, the mesh goes all the way around the shoe. We've got some laminate overlays of the logo, but it is nice and breathable. You can see through the toe box there, and I do find it very comfy. What I will say, we have a very shallow toe box, very much like the Pegasus, and like I found in previous Adidas shoes, like the Solar Boost. I've had a pair of Solar Boost, that was very similar. The Adios Pro 3, again, that's where I had to cut a hole where my toe is. The only one I haven't found to be like that is the Takumi Sen. That was absolutely stunning fit, but this is quite shallow there, so I did get a little bit of rubbing on the top of the big toe. We'll come to that shortly, but otherwise looking good around the top section. Moving on to the midsole, we've got 2 parts to this midsole. We've got Light Strike, which is their standard EVA foam, and inside that, so that's the carrier foam, inside that we've got the Light Strike Pro, which you can see through this gap here. That runs front to back of the shoe and gives a lovely soft and cushioned feel. This shoe ended up being softer than I expected because I have run in Light Strike before, and it can be quite firm. And obviously I love Lightstrike Pro, it's one of my favourite midsoles ever, and the combination here is absolutely stellar. It is one of the best things about this shoe. Really, really impressive, and that's really good. So that runs front to back inside this Carrier Lightstrike foam. And then we move on to the outsole, where we've got good outsole rubber coverage. It's not their usual Continental rubber, but it is relatively good. What I did find on the sort of nice buffed out Fire Track trails, lovely and grippy, when I hit the concrete, the grip was terrible. I was sliding across that pavement. So again, that's something to bear in mind. If you run in wet conditions, that's something I noticed. But it's good coverage in terms of, I think it's going to last a long time. Durability will be decent. We've got some exposed midsole foam here. But other than that, most of the shoe is covered by this quite thick layer of rubber outsole. And that is it for the tech. So with all that out of the way, let's get into my first impressions of this shoe. It was absolutely fantastic. Now, if you know, I've been running in the ADIDAS Pro 3 for a lot of my sessions at the moment. I can't hit home enough how much I love Lightstrike Pro midsole. It is brilliant, and I'm finding it to be really good on those double threshold days and my long run days. So I was kind of hoping that this might feel relatively similar. And although it's not quite the same as that kind of race day feel, what they've done with the midsole and the dual density is fantastic. It works well. It's one of those ones where you just think, yes, this works together. It works really well. I highlighted a couple of issues that I found with the shoe, and there is another major issue that I have. But the two minor ones, the grip, it wasn't good. It really wasn't good on the pavement, on the concrete. It was a wet day, as you saw by the B-roll footage there. It was raining quite hard, and on the tarmac, it was slick. It wasn't just a little bit slick, it was quite slick. I was not impressed by the grip at all. And the laces are like cheese wire. I've got no idea why they would produce such a good shoe with such terrible laces. So again, I will probably end up relacing this shoe. Those are the two things. I mean, the laces are sortable. The outsole, it depends what climate you live in. If it's a hot and dry climate, or if you don't get a lot of rain, it's really not going to be an issue for you. If you live in the UK, you might find, especially in the winter months, it might be a little bit dicey to be wearing this out. But overall, I've got to say, absolutely incredible shoe. There is just one downside to it, and it is the sizing. Now, I'm not going to go on a rant here, but I will just say that Adidas shoes are so hit and miss with me. Some of them I get on brilliantly with, the Takumi Sens. The fit on those shoes is perfect. There are other shoes like the Pro 3 that I love, but I've had to cut a hole in the top so that my toe can kind of pop up out because the toe box is so shallow. And that feels exactly like what is going on here. Now, obviously this is, I've sized up, I've gone half a size up, and I don't feel it's enough. The problem is I have in the past gone up to another size in Adidas shoes and my foot feels like it's swimming in there. It's not a width issue, it's not a length issue, it's the fact that my big toe rubs on the top of the material. It's so bizarre. I have enough room at the end, but the toe box is so shallow in the end that my toe just rubs on the top, and I just got incredible pain like I did with the Adidas Pro 3. It went after about 20 minutes. And for the rest of the run, it was fine. But it did leave my toe sore for a day or so. And I'm sat here now thinking, what do I do with these shoes? This is why I've only done one run in it, because if I can return it, should I return it? But if I do return it, I'm not going to be able to get a size up. A, because they don't do a size up, and I already have sized up. And B, I loved it so much on the run that do I feel like it's worth slicing the top of it? A lot of you are going to say, don't do it, you shouldn't do it. Some of you are going to say, yes, go for it if you liked it that much. I'm looking for a shoe in my upcoming marathon training block that's going to cover a lot of those miles. Those miles that are the longer runs, those miles that are some of the low-key sessions, and this ticks that box. I felt on that run that it was absolutely spot on, but I'm just concerned about this sizing. Now, I will just finish this off by saying that is obviously personal. Now, I know a lot of you in the past have shared the same sentiment as me, and others you find Adidas fit you absolutely fine. So again, you've got to take that section of it with a pinch of salt. It does actually say on the website you should half size up, which is what I did. And as I said, the fit feels exactly the same as the Pro 3. The Takumi Sen seems to have a deeper toe box, so I just don't get that issue. So yeah, that's the only major drawback that I can find with this shoe, and it really is going to depend on what I do next. So I'm going to take some time to think about it, because at the moment I'm looking around for a non-plated shoe that can do what the Brooks Hyperion Max did for me, and at the moment this ticks that box, and it is great. If it wasn't for that sizing, I could kind of look past the grip a little bit and I could sort the laces out, and I could say already after one run this could be right up there for an absolute banger of a shoe of the year. But to be honest with you, that sizing is just letting it down once again. But then if I look at it on the flip side, I'm looking at my Adidas Pro 3 saying I've got 230 miles in that shoe. It's feeling great. Yes, I've cut a hole in the top. Now it feels amazing, and it is one of the best shoes that I'm using in my lineup. Could this do the same? It might well do. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this shoe down in the comments below. It is brilliant. Love, hate at the moment. If I can sort that issue out, it'd be great. I'm just not sure what to do. So I'd love to hear what you would do in the comments below. And yeah, let me know how many miles you've got on it. I know I'm a bit late to the party with it. So how many have you got? Have you got over 100 yet? It'd be great to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. That's it though from me today, guys. Adidas SL2, big thumbs up. But of course, that big drawback, just... yeah, a little bit frustrating. We'll leave it there. If you enjoyed the video, do give it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. I'll see you on the next one.